Today we shall discuss about the structure of muscles and the types of muscles. The term muscle is derived from the Latin word musculus, which means little mouse. It is so because muscles movement under the skin resembles a running mouse. Study of the structure, arrangement and action of muscles is called as myology. Muscular tissue is mesodermal in origin except muscles of iris and the ciliary body, which are ectodermal in origin. Muscle is a biological machine which converts the chemical energy of ATP into mechanical energy and helps in the movement of and locomotion. Muscular contraction is caused by the interactions between actin and myosin. All the activities that involve movement depend upon the muscles. There are about 600 muscles in the human body. All these together make about 40% of our body mass. Each muscle cell is innervated by the blood vessels and the brain, nerves and skeletal muscles. All these work together to cause the movement, and this is collectively known as neuromuscular system. What are the functions of muscles? Muscles, they are very much important in our daily activities. They help in our movements. The muscles contract to produce various movements. They help in locomotion, vision, hearing, speaking and swallowing, etc. They maintain the posture, they support and protect the internal organs. Muscles also prevent the excess movement of the bones and joints. They maintain the skeletal stability, prevent skeletal structure damage. They are also helpful in circulation, respiration, digestion and even excretion and urination. Maintenance of homeostasis in the body by generating heat, and they even regulate the body temperature and store the nutrients. Coming to the structure of muscle. The muscle is one of the most abundant tissues in animals and humans. There are three distinct types of muscles. They are skeletal, cardiac and smooth muscles. A typical structure of the muscle resembles the structure of a skeletal muscle. Here we shall discuss it in detail. Muscle fibers are the cells that act as the building blocks of the muscles. Muscle fibers are made up of myofibrils. These myofibrils are the units of muscle fibers. Myofibrils are made up of myofilaments, which are thicker myosin and thinner actin. Each muscle fiber is a single long cylindrical muscle cell. Each skeletal muscle has three connective tissues. They are called as mycia that enclose the muscle, and they compartmentalize each muscle fiber within the muscle. Each individual muscle cell is called as muscle fiber, and it is surrounded by the connective tissue called as endomysium. The endomysium contains extracellular fluid and nutrients to support the muscle fiber. In turn, these nutrients will be supplied to the muscle through the blood vessels. Groups of muscle fibers form bundles called as fasciculus. In Latin, fascia means band or bandage, and it is surrounded by a layer of connective tissue called perimysium. Nearly about 10 to 100 fascicles together bind to form a muscle. The whole muscle is surrounded or wrapped by a connective tissue called the epimysium, and this allows the muscle to contract and move powerfully while maintaining its structural integrity. Tendons are the cords of strong, flexible, elastic connective tissue. These are mostly made up of collagen, and these tendons, they connect to the muscles to the bones. This allows movement of the body like running and jumping. This is typical structure of the skeletal muscle. Here we can see three connective tissue layers like epimysium, perimysium and endomysium. What is the fasciculi and how the tendon is connecting both the bone and the muscle. Each muscle is formed of several muscle cells called as muscle fibers, and the skeletal muscle is made up of multinucleated cells. That means each muscle cell is having a number of nuclei. The plasma membrane of the muscle fiber is called as sarcolemma, and the cytoplasm, especially the plasma lemma, next cytoplasm, endoplasmic reticulum, all these things whichever is present in the muscle, they were named in different way that is in what we are discussing now. The plasma membrane is named as sarcolemma, cytoplasm is named as sarcoplasm, endoplasmic reticulum is named as sarcoplasmic reticulum, and it is the region where abundant or a number of calcium ions are present, and these calcium ions in turn help in muscle contraction. The mitochondria whichever is present in the muscle is called as sarcosomes, and these are the powerhouses of the cell, and the muscle hemoglobin which is present in the muscle is called as myoglobin, and the sarcoplasm contains numerous longitudinal protein filaments. These filaments are called as myofibrils. Each myofibril is composed of number of alternating light bands and dark bands. The dark band is called as anisotropic band, and it is also called as A band, while the light band is called as isotropic band or I band. The light band contains actin and two regulatory proteins or filaments called troponin and tropomyosin. The dark band contains myosin. Actin filaments are thinner compared to the myosin filaments, hence this actin and myosin, while differentiation we can name them as thick filaments and thin filaments based on their thickness. The A band shows a middle light region called as H zone. It is also called as Hansen's disk. It is named after Hellerbreit. It is a German word, and in the middle of which is seen an M line. This is named after German middle of the sarcomere. In the center of the I band is an elastic fiber called Z line. The region between the two Z lines is called as sarcomere, and the sarcomere is the structural and functional unit of the muscle. A skeletal muscle cell contains about 1 lakh sarcomeres. Each skeletal muscle cell contains about 1 lakh sarcomeres. Here we can see the typical structure of a sarcomere. A sarcomere consists about two kinds of longitudinal filaments, namely thick filaments and thin filaments. The thick filaments, a thick filament is composed of a bundle of protein molecules called myosin. Each myosin molecule is rod like. It consists of a head. In this picture we can see the structure of a thick filament, how it is. So, each myosin molecule, it is possessing a rod like structure. It consists of a head, a neck and a tail. The head is also called as cross bridge as it attaches with the actin during muscle contraction. The head is a modified myosin molecule. It is also called as meromyosin. In general, normally thick filament is made up of myosin, especially in the case of head region, it has a special molecule called as meromyosin. The head projects out of the thick filament. In this picture we can see the thick filament. Thin filaments. A thin filament consists of three proteins, namely actin, troponin and tropomyosin. Actin molecules are globular and are arranged in the form of a double helix. In this picture you can find the structure of a filament, thin filament, how it is arranged. Tropomyosin molecules are filamentous and they lie in the grooves of the twisted actin strands. We can view that in the picture. Troponin molecule is nearly oval in shape and is associated with the end of each tropomyosin molecule that lies towards the center of the sarcomere. This is how we can explain the skeletal muscle structure. See, we are focusing a bit of muscle. As this skeletal muscle is attached to the skeleton, it is called as skeletal muscle, and it is possessing different regions, means fasciculus is there, epimysium is there, endomysium is there. We can find the sarcolemma, we can see the sarcoplasm, and all these things are there in this picture. We can find that. And now, as I have told you, there are different types of muscles. Among them, we are studying about three major type of muscles. They are skeletal muscle, smooth muscle and cardiac muscle. Coming to the detailed study of skeletal muscle, it is same as that of the structure of a muscle, as up till now we have studied about the same thing. The typical structure of a muscle is similar to that of a skeletal muscle. The skeletal muscle is also called as striated or striped, and also it also called as voluntary muscle. Why these are named so? Because as the skeletal muscle is attached to the skeleton, it is called as skeletal muscle, and as it is attached to the bones, the skeletal muscle helps in the movement of the organism, and it is named as a striated or striped muscle because it shows the striations, horizontal striations in the form of light and dark bands under the microscope. Based on this, it is named as a striated or striped muscle, and it is also called as voluntary muscle because it is possible to move the muscle at our will. So, as it is controlled by our mind, or as it is controlled by us by externally, it is called as voluntary muscle, and they are quite long and multinucleated. Their length range from 1 to 30 centimeters length. Coming to the skeletal muscle, the shortest skeletal muscle cells are present in the stapedius. These are present in the muscle of the inner ear. The size of this is 0.1 centimeters, and the longest muscle cells are found in serratorius muscles of the thigh. This ranges about 30 centimeters length. The skeletal muscle contracts quickly and it also exhausts quickly. As it works, it is attached to the bone, it works fastly, and also it gets tired very fastly. What are the functions of this skeletal muscle? So, as we have studied in the earlier slides, it helps in the movement, body movements, posture maintenance. They help in maintaining the joint stability, and also they help in heat generation when there is cold stress, and also assistance in breathing, regulates body temperature. They work in coordination with bones and joints to produce voluntary movements. As I have told, it is also called as voluntary muscle. Its movements can be controlled. Skeletal muscles plays a very important role in overall health and functionality, making them essential for daily activities and physiological process. Meanwhile, we can understand if our muscle is injured, we may not be able to move. So, all these basically especially the skeletal muscle plays a very important role in our movements as it is in our control. And the next major type of muscle is smooth muscle, and this smooth muscle is also called as unstriated muscle or visceral muscle. It is also named as involuntary muscle. Why? Because this muscle it does not show any striations, and it has a very important role in maintaining the internal environment. It is located in the walls of the visceral organs such as blood vessels, trachea, bronchi, stomach, intestine, urinary bladder, etc. As all these organs are internal organs, they are also called as visceral organs. Hence, only this muscle is also called as visceral muscle. Hence, the smooth muscle is also called as visceral muscle. It is also found in the iris and ciliary body of the eye, and in the dermis of the skin as a erector pili, so muscles attached to the hair follicles. As it is related to hair follicles, it helps in piloerection. It is also innervated by the autonomous nervous system, and thus its contraction is not under the control of our will. So, we cannot control the movements of the smooth muscle. Hence, the smooth muscle is also called as involuntary muscle. Individual cells of the smooth muscle are spindle shaped and they are tapered at their ends. Single nucleus is present in each cell at their wider end of the center. That means, in the case of skeletal muscle, we have seen that they are multinucleated, but in the case of smooth muscle, these are single nucleated, and this nucleus is present at the center of the muscle cell. They vary in the length depending upon the organ. That means, based on the location of the smooth muscle, their length differs. If suppose we see the blood vessels, the smooth muscles length will be approximately 20 nanometers. In the case of intestine, as the intestine is the longest part, here the length of the smooth muscle will be about 200 micrometers, and as such in the pregnant women, in the uterus, the smooth muscle length will be about 500 micrometers. Why? Because this need to stretch, that uterus need to stretch more to carry or to hold on the baby. In this picture you can see the structure of the smooth muscle, how the nucleus are placed in the center, and in this picture we can find that the smooth muscle is present in the intestine. And coming to the functions of the smooth muscle plays a very important role, as it is maintaining the visceral organs, that is the organs whichever are present in the internal environment or inside the body. We can call these organs also as vital organs. It functions largely as a regulator of the internal environment. It is also found in the walls of the hollow organs, and it regulates the flow of the blood in the arteries. It also helps in the movement of the food through the alimentary canal or gastrointestinal tract. It expels the urine from the urinary bladder. Without these muscles, urination might be very difficult. Labor pains, it helps in executing the labor pains by contracting the uterus, which helps in the process of delivery. And it also regulates the flow of air through the lungs. That means it helps in breathing process. As we are discussing the types of the muscles, the third important muscle is cardiac muscle. The name itself, it is revealing that cardiac muscle, it is related to heart. Cardiac muscle is very confined and it is specialized tissue which is present only in the heart, that too in the walls of the heart. So only it is called as cardiac muscle, and in other words this is also called as myocardium. It resembles the skeletal muscle and smooth muscle. Both the characters of the skeletal muscle and the smooth muscles are present in this cardiac muscle. This is striated as that of the skeletal muscle. The cardiac muscle is striated and cylindrical in shape, and as that of the smooth muscle, this muscle is possessing the nuclei, and this is involuntary in function, because we know that without our influence or without our knowing or without our involvement only, the heart will be going on beating or contracting and relaxing, executing its work by beating itself. So cardiac muscles, they help very much in the movement or the contractions and relaxations of the heart, as it is involuntary, means as the heartbeat is not controlled by us, it is also called as involuntary muscle, that one of the main characters of the smooth muscles. So its movement is, or its contraction is not in our control. The cardiac muscle cells are short, cylindrical, and these are mononucleate or binucleate cells. The cardiac muscles has its own features, that is, these are the specialized features which are confined only to the heart muscle, that is cardiac muscle. They are possessing the interconnections in the form of intercalated discs. So these intercalations or intercalated disc, they help in self contraction. So these self contractions, they help in the contraction and relaxation of the heart muscles, which in turn help in the heartbeat. Functions of the heart cardiac muscle. The cardiac muscle is it contracts and relax. It's the period of contraction is long because it need to be continuously active. So the contraction will be for longer period, and the refraction is it is very much needed to maintain the viable heartbeat. The heart tissue does not become fatigued, because if the heart tissue becomes fatigued, means if it gets tired, then that means there is no heartbeat, that means there is no life. So always the heart goes on working, that means it works for 24/7. Why? Because to keep the living being in a live condition. So heart tissue does not become fatigued, or it will not get exhausted. It goes on continuous contractions and relaxations for a lifelong time. The cardiac muscle is highly resistant to fatigue, because why it is means how can it can maintain the continuous stability or continuous strength, means it possesses number of mitochondria. As we all know, mitochondria are the powerhouses of the cell. They help in the production of ATP. Here the mitochondria means the sarcosomes. Sarcosomes, they are many in number in the heart muscle, that is in the cardiac muscle, and these muscles, they produce more amount of ATP and they help in contraction and relaxation of the heart muscles. And this it also possesses a more amount of myoglobin, that is the hemoglobin or blood which helps in bringing more oxygen. So, with more amount of oxygen and with more number of ATP, the heart continuously works to execute its function, to keep it alive, to keep the organism alive. This is very much important in aerobic respiration. Next, and keeping the organism in live condition. The interconnected network of the cells which is present in the separated, especially in the artery and ventricles, they help in they help the heart to contract separately. As the chambers need to contract and relax, this intercalated disc help in that process. And coming to the major functions or properties of the muscle tissue. See, we are telling about the structure of muscle, and we are discussing about types of muscles, and movement of the organism is based on these contractions or muscle contraction of the muscle. Why this movement or the contraction is happening means due to these main properties which are present in the muscle tissue. They are excitability, contractibility, next extensibility and elasticity. Without these properties, muscle cannot contract. If there is no contraction, there is no movement. So, all these things are very much needed. Excitability in the sense, it is an ability to respond to the stimuli. Whenever there is a stimuli, the muscle receives the stimuli and it gets contracts and it responds as a form of movement. And contractibility, it is the ability to contract. If there is no, even though if it receives the stimuli, if it cannot contract, then there is no movement. And extensibility, it should be able to stretch without tearing. If it stretches and if it gets injured, then no more movement. So, extensibility is also very much important property of a muscle. And elasticity, whenever the muscle is contracting, it should contract and also it should regain its first or previous nature or previous position, then only the shape will be normal. If it retains the contraction or if it retains the structure whenever it is contracting, then the shape of the muscle or shape of the organism may change. So, elasticity is also very much important in maintaining the muscle and also the structure of the organism. And here I have mentioned a special structure, a special type of condition called as rigor mortis. Rigor mortis is a condition where the muscle gets stiffened. It happens during the time of death. We all know that when we find a dead body, the dead body, it becomes very stiff. Why? Because here the contracting muscles, they contract and remain the same way due to the insufficiency or stoppage of the breathing and also the stoppage of the oxygen supply to the muscle. So, only the muscle cannot contract, means it cannot reach the normal position. So, it remains in the contracted condition or in a stiff condition. It is called as rigor mortis. And in general, we know that ATP is required and oxygen is required. As the muscle is supplied with the myoglobin and the ATP, then only it can contract. If there is no supply of oxygen, if there is no supply of ATP, then there is no movement or there is no contraction. So, only the dead body cannot move. Muscle contraction. So, I am telling movement. The word movement, it is nothing but the contraction of the muscle. The contraction of muscle only will lead to the movement of the organism. If there is no contraction, there is no movement. So, the mechanism of muscle contraction refers to the process by which the muscles generate force and produce movement. So, muscle contraction involves a complex interplay of biochemical and physiological events. So, without these events the muscle contraction cannot occur. The process of muscle contraction involves the following steps. So, here all the organs means especially the brain, the nervous system, it executes the function, it gives a command or it gives the instruction to the muscle, then only the muscle receives the instruction from the brain, and with the instruction of the brain only the muscle will move. So, the message travels from the nervous system to the muscular system. This triggers the chemical reactions, and these chemical reactions, they lead to the muscle fibers, means they help in activating or stimulating the muscle fibers, and these muscle fibers, as a part of the information received from the nervous system, they react or they get excited, and this excitation leads to the movement. So, here it results in the contraction of the muscle, and when there is no signal, that means when there is no information from the muscle, from the brain, or when there is no information from the nervous system, then the muscles cannot undergo any chemical process, or they cannot execute any function. So, the position of the muscle whichever has been contracted will reach, or it gets reversed and it reaches the normal. Again the muscle will rearrange by itself and it becomes to normal, and this condition is called as muscle relaxation or muscle relaxation. The muscle cells contains proteins, as I have told you, it contains two major types of proteins called as myoproteins. These are actin and myosin. The actin is a thin protein and myosin is a thick protein. These two proteins, actin and myosin, they interact with each other and they help in the contraction of the muscle. Without their involvement, without their means they form the cross bridges through a method called as sliding filament theory. Without forming the cross bridges and without the excitation, without the release of calcium ions, the muscle cannot contract. So, these two, actin and myosin, these two proteins play a very important role in the muscle contraction. So, as soon as the muscle receives the information or a command from the nervous system, this sliding filament theory means sliding filament movement, it occurs and it results in the contraction of the muscle. The excitation, it is nothing but excitation results in the movement. Excitation leads to the contraction by coupling, it involves the action potential. This action potential where it occurs means at the neuromuscular junction. So, the connection between the nervous system and the muscular system, this is called as neuromuscular junction. So, at this junction it leads to the release of the acetylcholine and the subsequent muscle fiber activation. So, whenever this action potential occurs, then the release of the acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter results, and it results in the formation of action potential, and it leads to the movement of the muscle fiber, which is nothing but the contraction of the muscle fiber. And this is explained very well with the help of a theory called as sliding filament theory. This explains how the actin and myosin filaments proteins, they involve by sliding over each other to produce a muscle contraction. So, this muscle contraction, this theory is very much important and it plays a very important role in muscle contraction.
Okay.
So, this is the structure of a structure of both the myosin and actin, showing the sliding, how they slide over each other. So, this is through sliding filament theory, the muscle contraction can be explained. So, this is about the muscle structure and types of muscles. Thank you.